I'm making sure to stay in the shadows. I can't afford to be seen. I'm so nervous and excited and scared. I feel like my energy can barely be contained. As I have my back to the outside of the wall, my fingertips barely grazing the brick, everything seems louder, smells more intense. The brick feels as though it has razor-sharp edges as I continue to creep along. A car turns the corner and I press my body upright into the wall as though it can somehow allow me to become part of it. I'm still as the lights from the vehicle shine across the building, somehow missing me and creating an even darker shadow for a moment. My heart is racing. My chest feels as though it might open up and allow my beating heart to escape and fall to the ground. Finally, I come to the window's edge, where the brick juts out an extra 3 inches or so. The light comes on, and I can barely control my breathing. I want to run away, but instead I sit on the ground with my back against the wall, thinking of how many times she's ignored me and treated me like crap. How her friends giggle when I try to speak to her, but my stupid stutter gets in the way. They mock me. Spit it out, Franklin. I'll wait for the lights to turn off. A shrill scream breaks the silence of the ward, and I sit straight up in my chair, spilling the cup with the now cold coffee all down my pant leg. I must have fallen asleep. It takes me a minute to realize what it was that just woke me. Then again, a shrill scream. Stop! Stop! Echoed down the hallway, and I get up to run. And as I do, the doctor and I come face to face in the doorway. He's come running as well. He holds her arms as they are flailing. She's still asleep, I think to myself. Miss, you're all right. Everything is fine. Calm down, he is saying. I sit next to her on the bed, and as her eyes open, they begin to clear the fog of her dream. Hello, I say calmly. I'm Officer Kent, and you can call me Poppy. Just then my partner walks in. Oh, she's awake, he comments on the obvious. Yes, Charlie, I say. Can you give us a minute? Sure thing. Let me know if you need anything. I'll just be right out here. The doctor is checking the girl's pulse, listening to her heart, looking in her ears. She appears to be about 15 years old, I'd say. What's your name? I continue. Where am I? She asks weakly. Doc Peterson tells her that she's in All Saints Hospital. All Saints? She asks. Where is that? On the corner of Claremont and Regency. She looked at him with a quizzical expression before she asked, Don't you mean St. Agnes? The doctor, an older fella, early 70s, was taken aback. Yes, it used to be Old St. Agnes, but how? He turned to me and whispered, How could she possibly know that? That's what the hospital was called when I was a child. In all honesty, I have no idea. Maybe she heard stories. Maybe she read an old newspaper article when she was writing a paper. I don't know. Honey, what's your name? I ask. And she replied, still looking confused. Constance Greenwood. My parents are Herman and Elizabeth Greenwood. I heard the doctor saying her name several times under his breath. So I looked at him as if to ask what he was thinking of, and he said, That name sounds so familiar, but I cannot place it. Up until now, we'd been calling her Jane Doe 15, taking a guess at her age. The girl closed her eyes and went back to sleep. Finally, the light went off, and I hear her saying goodnight to someone. My hands are shaking now, my forehead wet with sweat. Even on this cold evening, my breathing erratic, and I am excited, and I'm nervous, and I feel all powerful. No one knows I'm here. I'm in control, I think to myself. I wait for another half an hour to make sure that she's asleep. The time is ticking slowly by. It's so quiet outside that I can literally hear it ticking by as my wristwatch marks each second and each minute with a tick. Finally, I stand up. I look around to make sure that no one has spotted me, and I slowly begin to take off the screen covering the window. I sliced my finger pretty good on the steel, but I can barely take notice as my adrenaline is rushing through my veins now. My mind is racing, and I have to keep telling myself to calm down. I lay the screen on the ground, lean it up against the wall of the house. The doctor and I again leave the room. "So, what's up, Doc?" I ask and then laugh a bit. He didn't really see the humor in the fact that I'd accidentally copied a cartoon character. "I'm not sure," he replies. "I mean, she does have a rather large contusion on the back of her head, and that would of course cause some of the confusion. But I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. Why don't you go ahead and look for her parents? We'll have a better idea when we find them." I went out and swiped Charlie's feet off the nurse's desk station. "Come on, man, this ain't your home." "Lighten up, Pops," he replies. "Listen, Charlie, can you go look up a Herman and Elizabeth Greenwood for me? The girl says that's her parents." "Sure thing," he says as he stands up. "It'll give me something to do at least." And off he went. I sat back down in the chair, propped my feet up on the nurse's desk, and fell asleep. Again, I'm startled. The screaming for help and to stop is coming from the girl's room again. This time when I get there, the doctor and a nurse are already in the room, and the nurse is injecting something into her IV. "It's okay. You're safe here. Nurse K is giving you a small sedative. It'll help with your nightmares, and to see if we can't find out what happened to you." "Constance," I start. "Do you remember what happened to you?" "No, not exactly. It's fuzzy, kind of like a dream. I think someone was in my bedroom. I feel like I can remember hearing their voice and trying to get to the door. But I can't see it clearly. I'm not even sure if it's real or if it is just a bad dream." She's crying now, confused and scared. "Listen, my partner's gone to call your parents. They should be here soon, okay?" She nods her head slowly. The doctor asks, "Can I get a look at the back of your head, Constance?" "Connie," she says. "Everyone calls me Connie." And she sits up. Her hair is matted into one big clump of blood. The doctor is trying to find the exact wound while he talks out loud, to no one in particular. "The head bleeds a lot. The amount of blood isn't necessarily an indication of the size of the wound." "Oh, my. I found it." "Connie, do you remember if you fell on a sharp edge or if you had something sharp hit you? This wound is quite large, but there aren't any jagged edges." "No," she sniffles. "I can't remember anything about how I got here." Her eyelids are heavy now as the sedation takes effect, and again she's asleep. The doctor turns to the nurse and tells her that as soon as possible, when the girl has more strength, that wound needs to be cleaned out and sutured. Probably going to take a good chunk of her hair, too. It's a mess back there. "Hey, Poppy, have you heard anything?" he asks as we're walking out. "No, I sent Charlie, but I haven't heard back." Then I slowly begin to slide the window open. She moves in her bed, so I stop. Then it's quiet again. Slowly opening the window, I'm making sure to make no noise, as not to awake her. Not now. Not until she can see me and look into my eyes. Then she'll see what happens when you treat people like crap. I boost myself up onto her windowsill and pull back her curtains. She's still asleep. I quietly crawl through a window. There's a nightlight plugged in, and I scoff at her being afraid of the dark. I decide to stand and watch her for a moment. I'm shaking so badly that I feel as though my knees might buckle. I walk over to her and I shake her shoulders until she wakes up. Her eyes are big and frightened. She opens her mouth to scream, but I quickly put my hand over it. She's squirming, so I sit on her, still holding her mouth shut. She's pleading with her eyes, but it's too late. She doesn't mean it. She'll say she's sorry for the way she treated me, but that's just because she knows I'm in charge now. She'll tell the police, even though she'll swear that she won't. It's too late now, Connie. Charlie walks into the hospital 3 hours later. "Geez, Charlie," I growl. "Did you take long enough?" "Listen, Poppy, I have some information," he starts. "Hold on, let me page the doc." As the three of us are standing there, Charlie opens a folder. "Here's the thing. Mr. and Mrs. Greenwood are both dead." "What?" asks the doctor. "Okay, so who's her guardian, next of kin?" I ask him. "Listen, this is where things get weird. There is no next of kin. Constance Greenwood is dead." "Charlie, that is ridiculous. That girl is in that room." I am furious at his incompetence. "No, Poppy. Constance, the daughter of Herman and Elizabeth Greenwood, died in 1952. I stand there, perplexed. I don't know if I should laugh or punch him when the doctor says, "Young man, you have to understand that this sounds like you've gone mad." But then the doctor is still. And he says, "I do remember that name." "I know, sir, I do. Listen, it's the reason why it's taken me so long. I checked, I double-checked, I triple-checked. That is not Constance Greenwood. Constance Greenwood was brutally beaten and murdered by a classmate in 1952. I have the police report right here. The guy broke in through a window and he beat her so badly that she was unrecognizable to her parents when they found her the next day. Apparently the boy bragged about it to a friend. He was sentenced to life in prison." My mouth is hanging open as I read through this report. "Doc, what was the name of this hospital back then?" I ask. "St. Agnes," he responds, clearly as confused as I am. And that name," he says. I close the file. I look into the eyes of both my partner and the doctor, and I slowly ask, "Then what are we dealing with in there?" Thank you for coming to my channel. If you like it, please subscribe. Click that thumbs up, and also that bell next to the subscribe button. I really appreciate it.